In the summer of 1906, Mr. Soanes was moving logs down from Maston, and they had to go through Hillsgrove, which is where the tannery was located. When they got the engine to the bridge was being dismantled to be replaced. And at the time, there were two bridges. One was for railroad and one was for foot and horse traffic. This was the railroad bridge, and unfortunately, with 21 cars behind them, all loaded, there was too much weight on the demolition of the bridge, and the engine alone fell through. And the picture shows it, that it just laid in the water. To call it dinky in the drink, it's more of a phrase that just lingers, and it's obviously survived as long as the smokestack has.
I grew up, raised 3 kids, had a career, and had a life-changing event happen probably in my mid-50s, where I became alone and just decided to pursue activities that I was interested in as a kid. And flying was one, diving was the other. I specifically wanted to dive this site when I got certified. I have an interest in local diving. I've done that, but I've also done some other, traveled a bit to dive too. I knew the history of it, and I had worked in the woods when I was a young man, and I know on logging cars, they're not pristine, clean, well kept. There's things hanging off of them, chains, cant hooks, tools, and I knew that if that railroad went off the bridge, there's got to be something down there that they would not have recovered. So that's what drew my interest to that site. And I just had an interest because it's local. I'm a local resident. I got in the water and I swam to the bridge pier because that's what you see there. And that was the starting point. And I floated there for a while, and I basically ascertained where that bridge, the direction it would have gone. And then I went down. The water was about 15 feet deep at the time. And I just went down and kind of followed that bridge where I thought it would be. I didn't expect to find anything like that. I was thinking maybe there was a log chain or something. I really didn't expect to see anything. I thought it would be underwater because it was so long ago. I saw this pipe, and at first I thought it was a culvert, and that's what it looked like to me from a distance. And so I went over and got closer to it and went down, and I saw that it was tapered. It was a piece of cast iron pipe, and it was tapered. And then I got looking at it closer, and I could see there's protrusions, like there was ears, flanges attached off it, but then there was other places where it looked like something had broken off of it. I got out of the water, and then I went home and called my brother, who's reads encyclopedias for interest, and I told him what I found, and he called me back about a half an hour later, and he pulled pictures out, and he said, "John, the smokestack's missing off that locomotive." And so I pulled it up on the internet, looked at it, and it was. I'd never noticed that before. Nobody's ever, I don't know if anybody's ever really noticed that before, ever taken that closer look. It was undeniable that that's what it was. So that's when I knew really what I had.
When he first showed me the small screen of the video that he'd taken under the water, and it was quite difficult to see because, as he described, the sledge came up in plumes in front of the screen. To depict what it was, if you come from particularly the Hillsgrove area, you know that's what it is. And you know the location is right. You know everything about it. And when he made the statement that he thought it was the smokestack, I was just in awe. How can we get this? And that started the whole intro of how we finally got it.
To physically get it out of the water, I got other divers involved. The 3 of us went down, and they brought airbags and straps, and we strapped the straps around the smokestack to airbags. They inflated the airbags. I wasn't sure what was going to happen when we lifted it. I mean, I didn't know if the thing would just disintegrate, break apart. I just didn't know. So it was like all trial and error, and it was pretty intense, just waiting for that to see what was going to happen. So, but we got the lift bags tied to it, and it wouldn't lift. They couldn't get it off the ground, off the floor of the creek, because it was full of gravel. We didn't compensate for that. Didn't think about that. I calculated the weight, so it's going to be about 300 to 350 pounds based on the cast iron weight. Didn't think it was going to be full. And there's also the question of, should we knock that debris out of it? We didn't know how to treat this. I didn't want to just like brush it off and scrape everything off, because we didn't know what kind of shape it was going to be in or what to do once we get out of the water. So they finally got it down by helping it, probably jumping it off the bottom and working it down. We got it down to where the boom truck could reach this arm out far enough, and the operator picked it up, and it broke the water. What a sight that was. When that actually came out of the water, it was just a beautiful thing after all that work. And you know, all we put into it, it was just cool. And then he swung it over, and we put it in the water tank, and the water had to be the same water it came out of to keep it stable. We couldn't expose it to air, because if it got exposed to air, it would deteriorate rapidly, because it's been in water so long in an anaerobic environment. And it's been in the water for 108 years. It's been down there. It's amazing to me that, I mean, it was laying there that I could see it. I didn't have to dig it out. I could see it. I figured that thing must have been covered and uncovered numerous times over the course. You know, every time a storm or a hurricane or tornado came through, it might have been covered, it might have been uncovered. I think I just happened to catch it at the right time. It was after Hurricane Irene had gone through in 2011.
If you don't save the past, you can mess up the future. So in the present, you should know what there is to find out. And the museum, any museum, covers a multitude of subjects. Ours focuses solely on Sullivan County's history.